entitled to accommodation. And for that to be the case, social housing comes in as subsidized housing, which is subsidized to a point of probably zero, payment whatsoever. The old people, the physically challenged, and even the mad people can't expect to repay a dime whatsoever. So the question is, now that we have this policy of government on social housing, what practical steps can we take to actualize it? The first thing government tells you is, we have no money. And I always tell government, that is wrong thinking. First, accept that this is a responsibility. This is a challenge. Commit yourself, the journey of 1,000 miles, to the first step, the very first step. Commit yourself to it. And secondly, come back, sit down, think outside the box. And you'd realize that cut and fill is a global best practice. We have Hall 7. Yeah. They're big guys. They are big guys. Call them, give them land free of charge, because the land is yours. Okay. And tell them, in exchange, 25% of your development is going to go to social housing. It's going to go to this group of people. As a result, you are able to get Hall 7, whose one bedroom goes for as much as 9 million, to go for 900,000. And in that 900,000, you do the eligibility criteria of this man on level 1, 18,000 minimum, and discover that if you extrapolate, like he said, the Straits test, that he cannot pay more than 700,000 over the period, but it's 900,000. You say, fine, that's why we call it social housing. The government net off. If they don't have the money to net off, they will tell him, apart from the land, can we add a sweetener, like infrastructure to the site that you would have done? On the basis of that, can you bring this cost down to 700,000? And he says, deal, it makes sense. So you have not put down a dime. You have used a policy to create social housing. It's just as simple as that.
But don't you think some of this, like the processes you just mentioned, some people might find it cumbersome to come, and say, just like you just mentioned, that I want a mortgage, I want this to happen. It's still a little bit cumbersome for the layman. How can we curb these challenges? Because when an average Nigerian will tell you, when there's too much paperwork, I am not doing. So how do we make it easy?
Well, unfortunately, accessing mortgage is actually a lot of paperwork. But that's the reality to which we are in right now. Accessing mortgage, more especially if you want to access mortgage from the federal government, which every Nigerian citizen is entitled to one mortgage in his lifetime from the federal government. And that's the only mortgage that will give you 6% interest rate. That one, it takes a process. There's time. There's a documentation process to which we are advocating that we should make it much more efficient. The paperwork involved in getting, when you give a checklist, when you want to apply for a mortgage, for instance, you're eligible, you've been contributing, and your finances can carry it, for instance, can carry the deductions. We'll give you a checklist of the documents you need to bring. When you look at it, out of 100 people who may give such checklist, give them 3 months, you'll hardly find 20 people that are able to meet up with this. And some of them, they can do it, but the process of getting the documentation, it's hard. That's why for us in our own organization, we've created a mortgage unit that their sole work is just to handle documentations and pursue it, to make it a little bit more manageable for the people. But if you want to say you want to go access commercial mortgage, for instance, that one, it takes you 48 hours at 22%, 25%. The paperwork is less on that. You go to approach a commercial bank, they would look at your earnings, how much are you getting for upfronts per year, okay, how much is when you remove this over the span of 5 years, in 48 hours they can have it approved for you. So, but it's 25%, 27, 25%. There's no fixed rate to that. So how many people can actually access that? So, but we are trying to see how to make the process much more seamless, reduce the documentation, not in a way that we will give to people who are not eligible, but people who are eligible, make it a lot more easier for them. Because there are a lot of people today which they try to access mortgage with us. After they waited for quite a while, some of them that can afford it immediately, they just said, okay, I'm no longer doing the mortgage, I've cancelled it, I'm paying off the money.
You see, there's something that we must come to terms with, certain realities. Government must be about service.
Yeah.
Right now it is not. Government is big enterprise. And